hello again. Thank you for giving that generous round of applause for our films and our filmmakers. We're about to start our Q&A. I did just want to mention if I would hope you could stay to listen and participate, but if you do need to pop out, please make sure you go through this side, that way you don't get lost behind. But I hope you will stay for our Q&A, and I'd like to invite the filmmakers in attendance to come up on stage at this time. There's some mics on the side. You could grab one as you come up. There'll be four total, I think. Anyone else? If you're making your way, raise your hands. Everyone, thank you so much for being here, for making it to the festival, for sharing your films with us. I'd like to start just if you'll say your name, the name of your film, and your role in it. And let's start on that end, and we'll work down.
This is on. Hello. Oh, hi. I'm Ivonne, producer, writer, and begrudgingly in La Cosecha.
Mi nombre es Norvia Castillo y estoy por La Cosecha.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Samuel Díaz Fernández y soy el director de La Cosecha.
Hello, I'm Natalia Villegas and I play Luisa in El Gato Feo.
Hello, my name is Esmeralda Camargo and I play Adelita in El Gato Feo.
Hi, my name is Daniel Fabelo. I'm the writer, director, and producer of El Gato Feo.
I'm Luis Fernando Puente. I'm the writer and director of I Have No Tears and I Must Cry.
I'm Laura Varela. I'm the producer-director of Raul Salinas. It's called Raul Salinas and the Poetry of Liberation, Un Trip. This is my colleague.
I'm Ambrose. I'm the co-director and co-producer of Un Trip.
Hello, I'm Alex Ramirez. I'm the writer-director of A Life in Technicolor.
Hi, my name is Melissa Baez, and I am the set designer for A Life in Technicolor.
I'll make sure you pass around. Thank you all again for being here. Just to get things started, I'd like to ask the directors or producers, what do you, this will be for everyone, for all the films, what do you hope audiences take from viewing your film? So I'm gonna walk down and I'll pass it this way.
I think for me, so I'm in the film, but for me, it's ultimately Novia's story. But every time that we had a conversation with Novia, I would tell Samuel, it's like, Novia is my dad. Like, every time we talk about like food or eating, like I would just be like, Novia is my dad. Like she wants to teach Miqueas how to remember the meals that they had and the food and the ingredients. And I was like, well, that's what my dad did for us every day. Like he would be so disappointed when I would want to go out and eat with my friends instead of staying home and eating dinner. So I think what I would hope people take away from this film is that like this story of memory and food and immigration is not just a Latinx story or an Asian story. Like it's all of our stories together, and I hope that comes through.
Sí, mi experiencia con este cortometraje fue poder seguir ayudando a la comunidad, seguir llegando a más hogares con los vegetales frescos y tener más organizaciones unidas para poder hacerlo. Gracias.
For me, the film kind of encompasses the philosophy of Norvia. I think you could break it down to small little bits, what she says, but there's a point at the beginning where she says, a esto le llamamos una aldea. This is what we call a village. And then at the end, Miquea says, a esto le llamo tomate. And for me, my father was somebody who really valued words. My mother sang. And so much of leaving a legacy is the exercise and the practice of naming the world around you. And so for me, that's what this film is. There's so many things that it's about, but the harvest are those words and different languages and colors and textures. The learning how to name the world.
For me, there's two main things for El Gato Feo, I think. There's one is just getting to know these women from the Mexican Revolution. Without them, there was no Mexican Revolution, and so it's kind of just a way to showcase them and see them in a new and different light. And then personally, it is about family and about what these larger wars and political revolutions that are often based around greed and power and money, and we see it in Ukraine, we see it in Central America, we see people fleeing over the Rio Grande from these places that are going through this turmoil. And my dad is a Cuban refugee, so it was a personal way of that was the personal side for me, and seeing how it can rip apart families.
So this that green card interview is based off a real green card interview. It was based off of my wife's green card interview, a marriage-based green card. So both her and I were there and such, and it first started with us just wanting to kind of tell that piece of our life. I've been an immigrant for most of my life, so it's been to have those themes kind of come back up and being so familiar with it, but also realizing that there's a lot of people that don't know what that looks like at all. They don't know that side of immigration at all, and so it's been eye-opening to see just how people have been reacting to it. So.
I think what I would like for people to take away is just the incredible legacy that Raul has left behind, not only a literary legacy, but also kind of a personal legacy. With people, he mentored a lot of people. He worked with a lot of other writers, poets, revolutionaries, was part of a lot of movements, as you can see in the film. So I just think it's really important that we remember his work, and we remember, the La lucha sigue. I mean, you've seen how Austin has changed. We see right now people are talking about abolition again, indigenous rights, and I just want everybody to remember history, right? It's nothing new.
I first wanted to shout out to Gil, who shot that incredible footage right there of the mural being bashed here. And also the Klan marching. So in a way, it takes a community to make a film. I think everybody here knows that. But the real thing that I wanted people to take away is the absolute need for societal change. I believe in that, and I think Raul believed in it, and I think it's necessary and incumbent on all of us to make it happen.
So I hope audiences take away that even in intense isolation, I feel like artists can find a way to prevail. And I think that's something that I really clung to when I started writing this picture. I wanted to give audiences a sense of hope, and especially in such bleak times as they were. So I wanted to just emphasize the feeling of connection that we need to have with one another. I think that's absolutely vital, not only in our craft, but in our society and for our own well-being, for our own mental health. So that's really what I wanted to talk about.
All right, I have other questions. It's okay, we're passing around. Sorry, they got me. Yeah, can you hear me now? No. Can you hear me now? Yes. Sorry about that. I have other questions, but I want to open it up to the audience. So if you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll shout you out. If they don't come up now, don't worry. I'm sure they'll come up later. Right there.
Hi. I wanted to ask for the film I Have No Tears. So there were pretty clear parallels to like horror thriller movies, and like obviously that's from the experience of it being horrific and scary. But can you talk more about how you came about to create, I guess, the style of the movie itself?
The question is about the style of I Have No Tears, and with the elements of horror and just a lot of deep emotions there.
I guess it all started when kind of doing a lot of the pre-visualization of this, of the kind of frames and reference that my cinematographer, Oscar Jimenez, and I just looked at way before. We started noticing a lot of the reference that we had, that we pictured, was very much in that sense, like very tight close-ups. We looked at a lot of films that you would say are not necessarily horror or thriller. I mean, we looked at films like The Passion of Joan of Arc, which has very much that kind of scrutiny, someone being like interrogated, somebody being doing that. And just started thinking what we could do with that. I think as far as like the sound design goes, though, I think that's where like a lot of it kind of really comes through, and that was just a conversation that gradually moved in with our composer and our sound designer. We just said, you know what, I think this feels right here, this feels right here. I'd get like pieces of the score and be like, hey, that's too much, let's cut it down. And so we just kind of collaborated a lot to get that. But I think primarily it was just the decisions we made at the beginning for the kind of close-ups, the kind of shots we were gonna get, that ultimately ended up being kind of that thriller drama that it just ends up being there.
Great, thank you. Next question from the audience.
I don't have a question, but I do want to say that Raul Salinas era mi tío, and he's my uncle, and I thank you for honoring his legacy. Lara and Anna and Gil, congratulations. You did a fine job. Thank you.
She was sharing that Raul Salinas was her uncle, and so she's very appreciative to the filmmakers for sharing his story. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I see one right over here.
I don't have everybody's history as far as whether they're first-time filmmakers or tenured ones, but I think if we ask each one of them to address, was there a challenge, or can they speak to any challenge they may have had in their filmmaking process challenges can be positive or negative. So if each one could just kind of give us a quick little response, talk about the filmmaking process.
Perfect. So she would like to know about challenges in making the film, and positive or negative too, but you know, whatever led to getting to where you got at the end of it all. She would like to hear from everyone, so whoever wants to go first.
Well, okay, I'll start. I'll kick us off. Well, it was a period. The film was a period piece, and that obviously brought up some great challenges. But we had a wonderful crew, and our costume designer, really worked her ass off, and everybody on the crew worked their butts off for us, and we had to brace the elements, and my actors they hit a deer on the way in. But as far as because we filmed 5 hours from here in Pandale, Texas. So there were a lot of logistics and a lot of things that could go wrong, but we got lucky and everybody really, really worked hard. But from a story standpoint, I think one of the hardest parts were just focusing in and finding the drama between the two sisters and making sure that we focused on that. And I worked, and Luisa particularly was very challenging to write, and me and Natalia worked a lot together on that. So just making sure that their connection to that drama rang true and everything made sense. Those were, I think, the biggest challenges for our film.
We filmed this during COVID, so obviously having to, what everybody probably faced, people would get sick, you'd have to reschedule everything. So all of that was kind of wrapped into it. I think that from a story perspective, the most challenging thing that I realized when Nolivia was giving an interview outside, where she said, well, this is my story, but it's actually a tiny little part of my story. As a documentary filmmaker, you're always like, yes, this is incredibly compressed. Not even compressed, it's a window, a tiny little piece. And so it was trying to layer this little glimpse into Nolivia's life and Miqueas and these beautiful things with the friction of whatever she was facing, and at the same time layering Ai's Vietnamese story on top of that, and honoring each one of those parts, allowing them to kind of decant, for it to be beautiful, but not also just romanticizing it. They had to have, the poem, so to speak, has to have friction, and I think it was trying to write that in 12 minutes. So that was challenging.
So one of the biggest challenges for myself, I think, was just ending the shoot. And what I mean by that is, there's kind of a strange dichotomy that happens, I think, when you work as a filmmaker. You both romanticize it, but you also become quite cynical at times. And you hear about these great bonding experiences that occur on set sometimes, and I can tell you that with this production, I've never had an experience like the one I had. It really did feel like we made a community on that set. By the end, I was nearly in tears. We shot for about 3-4 days. And I've never felt so just, my heart's never ached as much as it did to finally put a wrap on it. We, at the very end, we sat in my living room with pizza and beer and basically had a plática. We had this heart-rendering talk and just talked about the future and what filmmaking would look like as a whole, and what we were going to do to kind of feed our creative passions. So, it was that, and also just editing the picture, because there's no dialogue, so you can't really fall back on normal conventions as you might in a conversation. So it really felt like fine-tuning a piece of music and really knowing when to add in a music cue, add in a sound effect, let silence just play, and just kind of learning to pace in a way that was quite alien to me.
Just to continue with what Alex said, A Life in Technicolor was we definitely bonded on that film. I think all of us were aching to make a film, be creative, and just do something as a team. And that definitely happened. We were almost in tears at the end. But on a set designer's perspective, for Life in Technicolor, Alex gave me the little snippets of film that he wanted to match, and we had kind of a no budget, low budget. So luckily I have really wonderful supportive friends who let me shop in their apartment. And I was looking for very vibrant colors because it's called A Life in Technicolor, and we were going, part of the time with grayscale. So I wanted the colors to be very vibrant and just like pop off the screen. And the part where Fred Astaire's walking on the walls, well, we couldn't really do that. So a lot of the snippets, I wanted to add a whimsical element to them so that you still have that in the real life. And I think Josie played that off beautifully with her expressions and everything. So yeah, I think that was the biggest challenge, was just getting those vibrant colors and having the background, the set, be a character as well.
So one of the biggest challenges for us was that Raul passed away in 2008. So we started filming in 2006. And when he passed, it was, it was difficult. We tried to keep going, and we had to stop and mourn him, settle, let the dust settle, and then pick it up. And then finding funding was a challenge. So it took us years to make this film, and I'm grateful for Anne, who just said, let's just edit it, let's just get it done.
Yeah, I think we had bigger plans than and still do. But the other part of this was we basically shot our own archival material, because everything we shot was like this 4:3 frame. And so by making it split screen, you get as kind of a 16:9. And that's the only way we could make it look like it wasn't quite so archival, right? Because the core material was all just whatever camera we could come up with. And that was older format, not quite as good as an iPhone.
One of the biggest challenges we had is our lead Alejandra Herrera. We had to fly her in from Mexico City, and 2 months before production, the U.S. updated its guidelines on vaccinations and people coming into the U.S. And the problem was not that she was vaccinated. The problem was that she had been vaccinated with one of the unapproved vaccines. So I don't know how much I should say, but she was able to get through with some, she had some friends at the Departamento de Salud and whatnot, and was able to, we were able to get, but that was strangely enough, this, aside from that, it was this production was pretty breeze, so it went by pretty easy, but yeah, that one was a big worry.
Thank you all. That was very insightful. Thank you for the great question. I'll probably take just a handful more. I knew you would come up with them. I knew they were coming. We'll do a handful more, and then we'll be able to continue chatting during our party. So we'll go right here for the next one. Yes, so her question for everyone is, what is your next project, or what is on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so I'm developing the feature film version of I Have No Tears and I Must Cry. So I'm just looking around to pitch it around, see who's interested in helping produce it, and we're excited for that.
So Laura and I have another joint project going about Rebecca Flores, great union organizer. So that's in the works. And I'm also working on a animation poetry doc called On Dying of Dementia in a Capitalist System.
I'm working on once again, Rebecca Flores with Anne, but I'm also working on a feature-length documentary for PBS called American Sons, and it's about the legacy of the Afghanistan War, told through the eyes of a soldier who passed away in Afghanistan, but has captured his deployment. His sister brought it to us, and then we visit with his Marine brothers and family 10 years later. So we talk a lot about, survivor's guilt, PTSD, grieving, mourning, brotherhood, peer-to-peer support through veterans, and just the need for transition services for them to come back into the civilian world.
So I'm also developing a feature that I've been writing for the past few months. Also kind of, shopping around and looking for a producer to work with on it. And also talking with some old friends, some old crewmates, and yeah, really excited to try to get that one off the ground.
I wish I had a great answer, but I can say that this short film was based off of a feature that I wrote during the pandemic, and was like boiling it down to the sisters and I wanted to make a Latino Western, and I still hope to. I would say that if you notice, there's 7 women in El Gato Feo. To me, that's the future Magnificent Seven, if we can redo it. One day, high hopes. And then I'm working on other stuff, but
Can we hear from the actor?
Okay, so okay, if you insist. I just wrapped another short film in Dallas a couple weeks ago. It's called The Morning Of. It's directed by Mercedes Elizondo, who is a local in Dallas, so if you can be on the lookout for that one, I would appreciate it.
I have a feature film called Marisol that should be releasing soon, I believe. I don't know. And yeah.
La Cosecha is the first part of an Austin trilogy, which has been done in partnership with GAVA, Go Austin, Vamos Austin. So the other 2 films will be coming out in the next couple of years. One is on flooding, and flood is this year, and then another one on heat, which is also with a grant from National Geographic as well. And then we're also doing one on sargassum in the Yucatan with scientists who are in love with the seagrass and all this stuff.
Sorry. And then we're also doing a short on Boca Chica Beach and the relationship with SpaceX. So that's coming out soon. And we're also working on a feature called Where the Sun Sets on ethnic minority communities that cross the borderlands of Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. So crossing our fingers and it'll be it.
Sí, yo sigo trabajando con GABA y seguimos viendo cómo crece la necesidad en la comunidad, y ahorita GABA está trabajando en el proyecto de poner una cooperativa de alimentos accesibles a la comunidad, a los que no tienen transporte, a los que son de economía muy baja. Entonces estamos trabajando en eso, y por ahorita sigo repartiendo los vegetales, y son 60 bolsas al norte y 50 al sur. Eso es lo que hago y es lo que seguiré haciendo.
So just to share too what Novia said, that she is continuing her work with the organization in sharing the vegetables, and she delivers 60 bags to the north and 50 bags to the south. So a ton of work. I think that is a great moment to have these projects, the future projects of what we can expect from you, to put our pause for the evening, because I do want to make sure we get to our festivities. There will be, I hope everyone will stick around. We can chat in the lobby more if you have questions. I would like to mention before we forget and head out, ballots. You get to vote for your favorite film. You can only pick one. Please make sure to grab a ballot on your way out. We'll have volunteers accepting. You'll just tear along the film of your choice as your favorite for the audience award. Last reminder of exit the way you came in, and please one last big round of applause for all of our awesome filmmakers. Thank you all so much, and let's go celebrate them and their films.